Trowaway for obvious reasons. Please don't put this on YouTube or BuzzFeed or whatever. This is mine and my children's life, and I would like them to not see this on a Minecraft video. Anyway, long story incoming, I'm trying to describe this as objectively as possible. About a year back, my husband Jack, 39 years old, and I, 36 years old, got separated with plans to divorce. Long story short, don't leave your phone on and open with the nudes you just received while you go jerk off in the bathroom. I confronted him. He basically admitted to cheating, though it was a one-time thing. In hindsight, I probably wanted to believe that. We had a huge argument, and he agreed to go to his parents' place for a few days while I tried to figure out what the hell to do with myself. That sinking feeling that everything is going down the drain, or lives together, all of those years, memories, our kids. It was without a doubt the worst time in my life, and I was so angry. Jack was super apologetic and begged me to not go straight to divorce, that it was a misstep and we could work it out. I really wanted that to be true, so we went to therapy to try to talk it out. All the way, he was saying that he would do anything to make it right, I just had to name it. But in the end, I just couldn't see how I could trust him again, so we agreed to separation. Jack moved out, and all in all, it was rather civil. We thankfully had an apartment that I could manage rent for on my own, and he was agreeing to everything I wanted done in a certain way. The only issue was our kids. I'm not going into details about them, but they are in the age range 10-13 years old, 2 girls. Jack was living on a friend's couch and couldn't have the kids there for sleeping over. So for the first about 6 months, he would pick them up after breakfast on the weekend and drop them off after dinner the same day. I want to stress that I never held the kids from him. He is a loving dad who cares greatly for them, and we were in agreement that it was more important for him to save on rent and find something permanent, even if it meant seeing the kids less in the beginning. They missed him but understood that it was temporary. About a month after the divorce was final, Jack texted me. We communicated primarily about the kids, that he had found a place to live and wanted the kids to come over for the whole weekend. Part of that hurt a lot, that we were really not married anymore, but my kids come first, always. So we arranged it for the following weekend, and they were over the moon. Frankly, I was looking forward to a weekend to myself as well. The kids come home on Sunday, and they want to tell me everything about it. Jack has found a nice place and is settled in, and there is a guest room where the kids can sleep, and everything seems great. We decide over text that they can come over every other weekend so he can start seeing them more. After their 3rd visit, the kids come home, and I just know something is up. Like, I can feel it. They are not nearly as cheery. I end up setting them down with a bowl of ice cream and start trying to talk about their visit. That's when the words "Dad's new girlfriend" come to light. That asshat has introduced them to his new girlfriend, who is actually the owner of the apartment. He moved in with her, and she made herself invisible the first few times. After bedtime, I text Jack to ask what this is about and why he didn't let me know beforehand. Basically, he confirms that his new girlfriend is the woman he cheated with. That was like a knife in my heart. This whole time, he had been telling me that he wanted to give me space, and I just had to say what would make it better for us to get back together. He was so thoughtful and attentive that I almost considered giving him a second chance, while he was moving in with his mistress. Ever since then, I have asked him to only contact me if it is about the kids. I want nothing to do with him besides that. The girls are definitely feeling the tension, but they do tell me that the new woman, Jane, is nice to them and really does try to give them time to get used to things, so I kinda settled into this being how things is now. Okay, now for the actual am I the idiot part. About 2 weeks ago, I get a text from an unknown number. It's Jane, introducing herself and apologizing for reaching out to me. But she has a concern about one of the girls, and Jack is telling her it's nothing and not to worry about it. This has me pretty worried, so I agree to meet with her at a Starbucks in town because I couldn't forgive myself if something horrible happened to my kid. And I ignored the warnings because they came from Jane. We meet up, and it is super awkward because she dives right in and starts apologizing for the affair. I try to tell her that I do not want to hear it. She can tell me about my daughter, or I am leaving. She blurts out that Jake told her that we were already divorced when they met and only lived together while things were getting settled between us. That couch at a friend's house? Never existed. He moved right in with her. He knew the kids would give it away, so he made up that lie to hide it. I basically tell her that she had 10 seconds to get to the part about my daughter, and she tells me that she is going to break up with Jack, and she wanted me to know because she knew that this would mean another uprooting for my kids, and she felt genuinely upset at having to do that. She told me she had found out because she had been cleaning up her office that he uses when working from home, and had found some of the papers from the divorce, and saw that the date was way off from what he had told her. I thanked her for the heads up about the breakup because I know my kids are going to be upset, and now I had a chance to try and soften the blow. We both leave, and I was just readying myself for Jack to share the news. I was confident he would go back to trying to save our marriage once the bomb fell. A little over a week goes by, and I make up an excuse to keep the kids that weekend, just in case. Still nothing until Jane texts me again. She had confronted Jack about the papers, but he had already hidden them and has spent days trying to gaslight her into believing that she must have seen it wrong and convincing her to stay together. She asks me straight up for a copy of the final document, which we both have, of course. I ended up sending her a scanned copy by email with a note that I do not want to be contacted again by her. Well, Jack got himself kicked out. He's living with his parents for real this time, and he is blowing up my phone and my email and work email, calling me an a-hole and a vindictive witch for getting involved in their relationship. Basically, he blames the breakup on me for getting revenge, and is telling everyone in his family and social circle that I made up lies to poison Jane against him because of the divorce. Even some of my family says I should have stayed out of it. Maybe I shouldn't have sent her those papers. But on the other hand, he put himself in this situation with his lies. She was going to find out sooner or later. Am I the jerk for giving her proof of his lies? Edit. First, I want to thank everyone who took time to comment. And thank you to those of you who shared similar experiences. I might update at some later point, but right now everything is pretty chaotic, and I'm looking into therapy for myself. Kids are covered, because I feel like I don't even know who my husband was anymore. I called his mother last night. They are my kids' grandparents, and I want to have a good relationship with them despite what their dad is doing. I told her that they had the right to support their son, but I wanted to tell them my side of things, and then we could decide how we moved forward in regards to the kids. I've always had a good relationship with my in-laws, so I figured she would be open to at least hearing me out. The call ended up being more than 2 hours because, surprise, surprise, he freaking spun this far out lie to them about the whole divorce and everything. That we split because he fell out of love with me and found his soulmate in Jane. That I held the kids from him to spite him because of Jane. That I sabotaged his new relationship because I am bitter. I took the advice of a lot of you and just laid it out, pure facts. What happened when nothing else? She was not too happy, to say the least. I know they had a serious talk with him because a handful of unknown numbers have been calling and texting me as fast as I can block them. I'm going LC with a lot of people right now and just focusing on the kids and helping them through this because they didn't ask for any of this. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Tell him, if the truth causes your character to be called into question, the problem is not with the truth, it's with your character. You lied to me, cheated on me, and were still actively having an affair while gaslighting both me and your affair partner into believing you were wanting to be solely in a relationship with the both of us. You lied to her about the divorce being finalized, and when she found proof, you hid it and gaslit her again. The divorce you're getting broken up with and your eviction are all the direct consequences of your own actions. Going forward, all contact will be through my lawyer until such time as the divorce is finalized. Afterward, all communication will be through a custody app regarding the children only. And get a clause put in the divorce that X amount of time has to pass before kids can be introduced to new partners, and the ex has to be given a heads up. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Although you were unnecessarily harsh with her after finding out he lied to her the whole time. She is also a victim here, and she could be helping you with the lies he's now spreading about you, if you hadn't so thoroughly burned that bridge. My ex also cheated on me, so I know that feeling of your heart being ripped out of your chest and wanting to claw her eyes out. But that's only when they know they are actively in an affair. She had no clue and was only trying to help your kids. On top of dumping him for turning her into a mistress without her knowledge consent, you kind of spit in the face of her kindness. Don't contact me again. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking with me through this mess. So the last month has been, well, interesting. After the whole fiasco with Jane and Jack, I thought things would settle down, but no such luck. My kids were already dealing with enough, and then their dad had to go and make things worse. It started with my oldest, let's call her M, coming home from school looking like she'd been crying. I asked her what was wrong, and she finally admitted that Jack's sister, Aunt Lisa, had been picking her up from school without telling me. Lisa had been filling M's head with lies about how I was the reason their dad was unhappy, and that I was trying to keep him away from them. I was furious. I had always been upfront with the kids about the situation, never bad-mouthing Jack in front of them, and here was his sister trying to manipulate my daughter. I called Lisa immediately and told her this had to stop. She was unapologetic, claiming she was just trying to help her brother. I told her she was no longer allowed to see the kids without my permission. But Lisa didn't stop there. She started a rumor in our small town that I was an unfit mother, that I was keeping the kids from their father out of spite. People I had known for years started looking at me differently, whispering behind my back. It was like high school all over again, and I felt so alone. Then, one day, I got a call from the school. My youngest, let's call her S, had gotten into a fight with another student. S had never been in trouble before, and when I got to the school, she was sobbing, saying the other kid had called her dad a cheater and her mom a liar. It turned out Lisa had been talking to other parents, spreading her poison. I had enough. I confronted Lisa at her home, telling her she was destroying her own nieces' and nephews' lives with her lies. She just smirked and told me I deserved everything that was happening. I snapped. I told her she was no longer part of our lives, that she had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I walked away, feeling like a weight had been lifted. I didn't care what she or anyone else thought anymore. My kids were my priority, and I would protect them from anyone, even family. The aftermath was tough. I had to explain to the kids why they wouldn't be seeing their aunt anymore. They were confused and hurt, but I reassured them that sometimes people make choices that mean we can't be around them anymore, even if they're family. Just when I thought we could move on, another bomb dropped. Jack had been fired from his job. Apparently, he'd been using company time to badmouth me to anyone who would listen, and when his boss found out, that was it. He called me, begging for help, saying he didn't know what to do. I felt a moment of pity for him, but it was short-lived. This was the bed he'd made, and now he had to lie in it. I told him I couldn't help him, that he needed to figure this out on his own. I had my own life to rebuild, and I couldn't do that if I was constantly being dragged into his drama. Now I'm focusing on rebuilding our lives, on healing the wounds that have been inflicted on my kids. We're moving forward, slowly but surely. And as for Jack and Lisa, they're just chapters in our story that I'm ready to close for good. Thanks for reading. It's been therapeutic to get this all out. My girlfriend's sister harassed me for a year, but when she sent that manipulative message, I made sure she faced the music and watched as her own parents told her she was wrong and needed help. I know the title makes me seem like the Am I the Idiot, I know, but please hear me out. My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years at this point. Don't get me wrong, I truly love her and don't want to hurt her in any way, but I'm done with her sister's behavior. For the last year, her sister, female 23, has been inappropriate with me on many occasions, from the comments to touching and inappropriate messages. I have tried and tried and tried to get it to stop, but it hasn't. I have talked to my girlfriend about it so many times and how uncomfortable her sister makes me, and it hasn't stopped. The comments range from how my body looks to her wanting to lick ice cream off my body, wanting to know how my body weight will feel on top of hers, the bulge in my pants, imagining how I look naked. She has touched my arms, back, butt, and even conveniently brushed her hand across my crotch by bumping into me when there was more than enough space to pass by me. She has mistakenly walked in on me taking a shower 9 times over the past 2 years, sent inappropriate pictures to me 4 times by accident, conveniently forgets to answer the door when I knock and she is in the room changing or anything. When she is over visiting my girlfriend, she doesn't wear clothes and walks around either naked or almost naked in my apartment, not hers, mine. I have seen my girlfriend's sister naked more times these last 3 weeks than I have seen her. I'm actually done with this relationship, but decided to give my girlfriend one last chance. She has helped me through a lot, and I do love her, I really do. So I sat her down 2 days ago and told her all of the above again, and explained to her if my brother did these things with her, he would have no teeth left. But she is allowing her sister to do these things to me when I have asked for her help to stop it. I don't want to live like a prisoner in my own home, which I'm doing at this point, locking every room I'm in or being afraid to go into a room in my own apartment. She replied with, "You know how my sister is? She means nothing by it." I got angry at that statement and raised my voice. I don't want her sister in our apartment, but she keeps inviting her. I don't want to go over to her parents' house, but she always guilt me into going, and I'm done with it. I get birthdays and holidays because their family is very close, but I'm done with this shoot. I told her if she doesn't help me to stop this nonsense from happening, I will make one of 2 choices. Either I will have her sister charged with intimacy attack, or next time she makes an advance on me, I will frick her. She immediately asked me if I wanted to cheat on her. I said no, but she is leaving me with no choice. She needs to help me put a stop to this, or I will make the choice for her. I know I'm a weenie because I also told her if she leaves the choice in my hand, I will probably choose option number 2. I wanted it to hit home as to how uncomfortable I have been and how inappropriate her sister is acting, and that I'm completely done with it. She has been crying and sulking, barely speaking to me the last 2 days. Got calls from friends telling me, am I the idiot for telling her I will frick her sister? She has no problem with me calling the police on her sister, but has a problem with me sleeping with her. I do understand that she has a problem with it, but I don't understand why she refuses to help me stop this crap from happening. Am I the idiot? Her sister has done a lot more than what I said above, playing with herself in our living room conveniently when I got home and my girlfriend was still at work, mistakenly getting into bed with me. I have thrown her sister out of our apartment more than 10 times over the last year because of her behavior. I don't sleep over at her parents' house anymore and would rather drive the 3 hours back home than sleep there. The reason her sister is over so much is because of the distance between her parents' house and ours. I am not the only person on the lease, so I can't just make the decision of who is and who is not allowed. Rules from the property management state that if all parties on the lease do not agree, they will stay out of it. Edit 2, see it in the comments. The reason I'm just not leaving and decided to give the relationship this last chance is because my girlfriend has helped me through a lot. My family cutting me off in favor of my golden brother, my own attempt at unalived nearly succeeding, and then sitting by my hospital bed for days until I got better. She is perfect in every way, except this one when it comes to her sister. So just leaving without giving it one last chance isn't an option because it would feel to me like I didn't try everything I could. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're not the jerk, NTA, for being fed up about the whole thing, but it's definitely questionable, if not stupid, what you're pretending to do. Both scenarios, you pressing charges and having intimacy relations with your girlfriend's sister, end up with you guys breaking up. It's obvious she doesn't think it's a big deal that her sister is harassing you. So how do you think she'll respond when you press charges for no reason? And having intimacy relations with someone who's been sexually harassing you just to prove a point? Really? The real question here is, why do you insist on staying in a relationship with someone who dismisses something as important as intimacy harassment, especially from a family member? It's great that you have documented the texts and everything, but for frick's sake, have some self-respect and end the relationship for your own safety. Comment 2. You need to get ahead of this now, my dude. You need to tell everyone, her family, all the friends, exactly what is being done to you. Right now, you are perceived as a bastard in their eyes who just wants to have intimacy with her sister. You need to set the record straight. Throw your girlfriend under the bus, as well as the trampy sister. Share all the texts and messages, excluding the nudes, but let everyone know what she has done and how you have no support from your girlfriend, not the idiot. Now, for the update, thanks for the comments from last time. So, the past 3 days have been interesting to say the least. After our last talk, my girlfriend promised to have a serious conversation with her sister. I thought maybe, just maybe, things would change. But oh, was I wrong. The next day, her sister showed up unannounced as usual. My girlfriend wasn't home yet, and there she was, standing at the door with that smug look on her face. I told her she wasn't welcome, but she just laughed it off and pushed past me into the apartment. I was fuming but kept my cool, not wanting to give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose it. Then, she did something that crossed all lines. She went into our bedroom and came out wearing one of my girlfriend's dresses. It was a clear message, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I grabbed my phone and called my girlfriend, telling her what was happening. She was silent for a moment and then said she was on her way. When my girlfriend arrived, it was like a scene from one of those reality TV shows. She confronted her sister, and they started arguing. Voices were raised and accusations flew. Her sister claimed she was just trying to be friendly and that I was overreacting. But this time, my girlfriend wasn't having any of it. She told her sister to leave and not come back until she could respect our boundaries. It felt like a small victory, but the aftermath was messy. My girlfriend was upset, not just with her sister, but with the whole situation. She felt torn between us, and I could see the strain it was putting on her. We spent the rest of the night talking, and she admitted that she had been in denial about her sister's behavior. She apologized for not taking my feelings seriously and promised to make it right. But the drama didn't end there. The following day, her sister sent a group text to the entire family, including me, painting herself as the victim and accusing me of trying to tear the family apart. It was manipulative and deceitful, and it put me in a terrible position. My girlfriend's parents called us, demanding an explanation. We had to sit down with them and lay everything out on the table. It was uncomfortable, to say the least. Her parents were shocked by the extent of her sister's actions. They had no idea it was this bad. They apologized to me and said they would talk to her sister about her behavior. It was a tense conversation, but in the end, they seemed to understand where we were coming from. The next day, her sister did something unexpected. She showed up at our apartment, this time with an apology. She said she realized how wrong she had been, and that she would seek help for her behavior. I was skeptical, but my girlfriend was hopeful that this was a genuine turning point. So here we are 3 days later, and things are quiet for now. My girlfriend and I are working on rebuilding the trust that was damaged, and her sister is supposedly getting the help she needs. I'm not holding my breath, but for my girlfriend's sake, I hope her sister is serious about changing. Thanks for reading. My mother ignored my advice to divorce and now faces homelessness while my wife betrays me by hiding my partner's embezzlement, so I take control and leave them both to fend for themselves while I start a new life free of their deceit. My 33-year-old, mom, 59-year-old has found herself penniless after 37 years married to my dad because my dad is in jail for stealing money from his employer, stealing it over the decades he's worked for that employer. When my dad was first arrested, my wife and I advised her to file for divorce immediately. If she's telling the truth in that she did not know what he was doing, never noticed their finances were changing, then she needed to divorce him immediately. Have a game plan, any game plan of sorts. But she fell into a state of shock, had several breakdowns that led to her being rushed to the hospital because she thought she was dying. She wasn't dying. It was all panic attacks. However, before this all came to light, she was still being treated for high blood pressure and arthritis from aging. I finally had enough of watching my mom decide not to divorce because she was always a housewife, and finances made her head explode. My dad pled guilty, but not before cleaning them both out with legal bills and then being stuck with restitution. My mom has been wringing her hands. She got a job at a packaging place, but her multiple mental breakdowns that has caused her to be fired. She'll rant on and on about how she did it all right. Now she's lost the house, and the other friend she's been living with has been put on notice by her husband that either my mom leaves their house or they divorce. Now my mom is begging me and my wife, who is my only priority, and to be honest, the first person I felt true, encompassing love of any kind from... She is somebody who I in many ways grew up with, emotionally speaking, because I was such an emotional wreck who didn't know how to handle relationships before I met her. She is a RN and I am in real estate. I was a top seller at my previous agency, and then my business partner and I decided to start our own thing. We've both worked for all of our 20s to be where we are now financially. My wife is my family. We do not exist as junior subordinate members of my dad's family, which is what my mom expects us to be. My mom is kept begging us for help. Her attempts have ranged from her showing up at our door and crying and pleading. We've been too nice to just tell her the cold truth. It's not our responsibility. As somebody in real estate, I understand that the Section 8 system is broken. Many landlords find ways to avoid Section 8, and she could be on a wait list forever. However, there are homeless shelters that give housing. As long as you understand that you'll be living with people who are also at rock bottom, they probably won't be Mary Sunshine towards you. I ended up meeting her for lunch, and then telling her I was getting her help. She agreed to get in my car, and I ended up driving her to the homeless shelter. She started screaming and saying the people there are violent, have threatened others, that there's pests in the shelter. I said nothing except that she needs to get in line so they'll give her a spot since it's first come, first serve. Am I the idiot for driving away and going back home to my wife? Edit. Since most people assume I had a loving mother. My mother told me growing up that she was glad she had me, a son, because my sisters as women were a lot of drama. And every time they had emotional needs, she would dismiss it as drama. She fostered the rift between me and my sisters and said that I would grow up to build the world, while my sisters would grow up to maybe support those who did great things. In addition, after my dad's infidelities became clear, she took out his infidelities out on my sisters by saying that the way they were dressing, they would attract the attention of married men, and that she didn't think they had the character, they were 17 and 18 at the time, to not cheat with married men. Even accused them of wanting power over married men because that was something she found out about women through my dad cheating. So, for all of you defending my mom and fixating on what I am not doing while not calling my sisters, who don't talk to either parent, sociopaths. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Based on your comments, it seems your mother used you as some kind of emotional support, but not in the sense that she was pouring her worries onto you. I struggle to find better words for that. Taking your mother in would very likely sabotage your marriage, and this is not the risk you are willing to take. Considering how much you rely on your wife for your happiness, it is completely understandable. What you did is not the right thing to do, but it won't make you miserable while taking her in would. You may be a jerk, but I would probably do the same thing in your place. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I had aunts like this, maternal and paternal, who treated their children like how OP's mom treated him and his sisters. My aunts were horrible, manipulated, saying god-awful things to my cousins. Then, 30 years down the road, they were wailing because their children stopped helping. They're dead now, and my cousins are finally at peace. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. My mom, who had been staying with her friend, was given an ultimatum: find a new place to live or her friend's marriage was over. The stress of it all must have been too much for her because she did something that left us all reeling. She disappeared. No note, no calls, just gone. Everyone was questioning where she could have gone, what led her to this point, and what this meant for our already strained family dynamic. I was angry, of course. Here I was, trying to keep my own life from spiraling, and she pulls a stunt like this. It felt like a slap in the face, especially after all the times I'd tried to help her. My wife, ever the voice of reason, suggested we file a missing persons report. I didn't want to. Part of me thought this was just another one of her dramatic episodes, seeking attention. But we did it anyway, and the search began. The police found her a couple of days later in a motel on the outskirts of town. She'd used the last of her savings to hole up there, too ashamed to face anyone. I didn't understand it. She had options, not great ones, but options nonetheless. Instead, she chose to run away, leaving us all in a state of panic. In the midst of all this, my business partner dropped a news. He'd been embezzling from our company. I couldn't believe it. I'd trusted him. We'd built this business from the ground up together. The betrayal stung, and it was a stark reminder that the people closest to you can be the ones who hurt you the most. It was a mess, and it was going to take a lot to sort it out. The company's reputation, our finances, my trust in people, all of it was hanging by a thread. The aftermath was a blur of damage control. I was working around the clock to keep the business afloat, dealing with lawyers, and trying to salvage what I could. My wife was my rock during this time, handling the situation with my mom and supporting me through the business crisis. Then, as if things weren't complicated enough, my mom's health took a turn for the worse. The stress of everything had exacerbated her high blood pressure, and she ended up in the hospital. I visited her, out of a sense of obligation more than anything else. She was weak, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of genuine fear in her eyes. She was scared and alone, and despite everything, she was still my mom. I found myself at a crossroads. My resentment towards her was obvious, but seeing her like that, vulnerable and frail, it did something to me. I couldn't just leave her to fend for herself. So I made a decision. I found a small apartment and paid the deposit and first month's rent. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I told her this was her chance to get back on her feet, that I couldn't do more than this. She moved in, and for a brief moment, there was a sense of relief. Maybe, just maybe, we could move past this. But life has a way of throwing curveballs. My wife, the person I loved and trusted more than anyone, confessed that she'd known about my business partner's actions for months. She'd kept it from me, thinking she could fix it without involving me, to protect me from more stress. I was floored, betrayed by my partner and now by my wife. It felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. I couldn't understand why she would keep something like that from me. We were supposed to be a team. It shook the very foundation of our relationship. I'm still trying to process it all. The business is hanging by a thread, my mom is just barely getting by, and my marriage is in a place I never thought it would be. I've been manipulated and lied to by the people I trusted most, and I didn't even see it coming. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!